started now. Hey, everybody. I know it says 3 minutes to go on that, but it's 7 o'clock, and I'm tired of listening to that song over and over again. I don't know. You all right? You ready to go? Mark is here with us, and we're getting ready to tell some scary stories tonight. Really glad that you are here. Thank you for joining us. And we're not going to be here all evening, but we are going to tell a few stories and try not to scare you, but the stories can be a little scary. When I first started in the business as a relatively cash-strapped investor and started realizing I was going to have to come out of pocket for some of the things because of the stupid decisions made by my tenants, it nearly wrecked me. And it did affect my emotions. And we'll be talking about all that in just a minute. First of all, welcome. Glad you're here. This is the 29th of October, and this is a Halloween edition of the Flipping America RIA meeting. We got some spooky stories to share with you tonight, and I'm going to switch over here to this screen here, where I'm going to make the announcements. And of course, tonight is Tenant Nightmares. That's tonight, and we meet every Wednesday and every Thursday. Except after Thanksgiving, we're going to be done for the year. So you've only got a few more weeks to take advantage of these meetings. And here's what's coming up next Wednesday. We had a little snafu last time. Chris was on a Zoom call. He just wasn't on my Zoom call. And we're not entirely sure exactly what happened, but we're going to get it together. And Chris is going to join us. Chris Prefontaine, well-known teacher, mentor, investor. And he's written a couple of books. He was gracious enough to send them to me. All around great guy, really good content. And he's going to be here with us. And the timing is interesting. Maybe this is a God thing. I don't know, because we were planning to talk about recession-proof investing, and everybody's all like, oh, what if Biden wins? Or what if Trump wins? And everybody can have their own nightmare scenarios about that, depending on which candidate they prefer. Well, we're going to sit down with you next Wednesday and talk to you about why it doesn't really matter, because there are things that you can do no matter what the economy is about to do. And Chris is a master at this. He's got courses and documents on it, and we'll be sharing that with you next Wednesday. Next Thursday night, I've got the guys from Priced coming over. This is a relatively new platform. It's an online platform designed to help you develop and send to basically the old style mail-out campaigns. Now, I'm going to do a demo with these guys tomorrow. I've looked at it myself, but they're going to take me through kind of an insider's look, and so I'll probably be even more excited about it then. But this is another way for you to develop leads and deal flow for your business, and that's next Thursday night. Same deal, we use the same system for our links. It's bit.ly/FARRIA and the date with no leading zeros. So next Thursday night, it's November the 5th, and so it's 115. All right? This is Flipping America, and Flipping America is becoming several things. It started off as a little radio show, which became a podcast, which now has over 1 million listeners every month. And then at the beginning of 2020, we launched the Flipping America RIA, of which this meeting is a part. And then we have the Flipping America Academy, which is a program of online courses. We've got a couple up already. We've got more coming. And Mark, by the way, I want to talk to you about your vision course. But we launched the Buyers Club in July, and it's just taken over our lives. It's amazing what's happening. I'll say more about that in just a minute. Coming next year, the Flipping America store is planned. It's a little bit on the back burner right now because we're working very hard to get the Flipping America network unveiled and unleashed. And when it rolls out the fan version 2.0 sometime around mid-January, I think you're going to be blown away. It is going to be the go-to source for people who want to sell or buy investment properties. This is the Flipping America RIA. Here's some reasons to join. You get admission to all of our live networking events. Now, we're really not doing very many live networking events because of the pandemic. I will tell you this, though. I have committed to go up to Louisville, Kentucky for the November 12th meeting, and I will be there live. Now, we're going to have Tan, Michelle, and the Pretty Houses people, the Pretty Pink Houses group that night. Great business model, very interesting. But I'm going to be broadcasting this call from Louisville, Kentucky with the Flipping Louisville group. It's one of our newest local chapters, and we're excited to support them and be with them. And when we do the live events, there's a cover charge. But if you're a member of the RIA, you get in for free. Also, you get access to all of the RIA content. We've done presentations like tonight. We've done 90 or almost 90 of them this year, and they're all in the members only section at the Flipping America RIA website. So that's a reason to join. Plus you get discount on Academy offerings. You can save hundreds of dollars this way. And I think it's the best value in the RIA business. You can join the Flipping America RIA for as little as $10 a month, or if you just want to pay an annual fee, $100 a year. So you can participate in these calls and this content. Now, you can always join the call for free, and you'll get a video replay of the calls eventually when I get around to it. I'm a little behind on that because I've been out of pocket this week with a little medical issue, but we do eventually get the video replay to you. However, if you want access to all of the video replays and all of the presentations and the content, you need to join, because that's where you'll find it. If you're interested in leading a local group, we're now 25 groups strong, and we've got some people ready to start some new groups, but we've told them just to hold off until January because we've only got a few more weeks of meetings left this year. But 25 groups from Louisville, Kentucky to Knoxville, Tennessee, all the way out to Oklahoma City and Corpus Christi, Texas, many parts in between. But we've got new locations planning in Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana. Believe it or not, there's going to be a Flipping Indianapolis next year. I'm looking over at you, Mark. Anyway, yeah. And then Lexington, Kentucky, multiple locations in Alabama and Florida. I'm just excited about what's happening. But if you want to lead a group in your community, it doesn't have to be a whole city if you don't want to take on a whole city. I mean, here in Atlanta, we've got 7 groups that meet in all different compass points around the city and some in town. It doesn't really matter. You can, if your neighborhood is Glen Hills subdivision, you can start a group called Flipping Glen Hills, and you can make it that narrowed down. It's whatever you want. But you can lead a local group. If you want to help people learn this business, even if you're only a step or two ahead of them, you can jump in and lead a group and start helping others, build the life of their dreams. And you can make a little money doing it too. We explain all of that if you just go to the link there, bit.ly/FARRIA join. Is Chip on the call? Chip is on the call. All right. Chip is here. I'm gonna allow you to talk. Actually, Chip, I may be promoting you to a panelist here in a little bit, because I don't think I sent you the panelist link for this, but that's all right. Because Chip is our membership coordinator, and he has probably texted me. He has texted me a number here tonight between 1 and 100, and we're going to give away this course. Now, actually, because our guest didn't show up yesterday, everybody that was on the call. And I've kind of put us into tunnel vision there, haven't I? Okay, sorry about that. Our guest was unable to make it because of a family emergency yesterday, so it could be that everybody on the call has already received this course. I don't know. But it's okay. It's our introductory course and getting started in real estate investing. And if you want a chance to win it, or if you just want to play for fun, even if you've already won this course, because yesterday everyone was a winner, all you got to do is just go into the chat, and we want everyone to say hello in the chat anyway. Make this a true networking event. Say hello, where you're from, what you're doing in real estate, and answer this question for me. How can we help you grow your business? That's really what we're here for. We're here to help you grow your business, all right? If there's something that we can do, a resource that we can connect you with, I'm blessed to know a lot of people in the business, and I can help you, and I want to. That's why we're doing this. This is a labor of love for us. We do this in addition to the things that pay the bills, which is the buying and selling of investment properties. But we want to do this to help a lot of other people get connected. And people ask me why I do it. Well, I guess really one of the main reasons is I know that if I help train 1,000 people to become real estate millionaires, that they're going to do some good in the world with the charitable causes they're going to support. And because a lot of people tell me that's why they want to make the money. They want to have a nice life, but they also want to make a difference. And so if I'm helping them make the money to make a difference, then I'm also playing a little tiny role in maybe making a difference through them. And that really, that cranks my engine just about every morning, just to think about the opportunity that God has given me to do that. And so I definitely want to give back. So anyway, if you want a chance to win the course, jump into the chat, tell us where you're from, and pick a number between 1 and 100. And Chip's already submitted the number. I know what it is, but I'm probably not going to tell you what it is. And at the end of our time tonight, we will award a couple of winners. We'll give away 2 tonight, Chip, okay? All right. And this is coming up starting in mid-January, we're going to do another round of the 6-month coaching program, and we're already sold out and almost finished for the fall season. But I'm going to take a few people into the coaching program next January through June, and this is it's like 80 video lessons and weekly coaching. So there's all this content, and you'll be able to pick and choose the content and lessons that you need. And then we're going to start off with a little assessment of your personality and also your life situation and your dream, your vision for what you want your life to be. And from there, we're going to help create a customized real estate investing plan for you. And then over the next 6 months, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. In order to achieve this plan, you've got to be doing certain things that lead you to make a certain amount of offers on a certain number of properties. And we get on the coaching calls each week, and I'm going to ask you how you're doing or why you're not doing it. And then if you run into a problem or so forth, there's no real agenda on the coaching calls except just to coach the team. And you're the team. I want to train 1,000 real estate millionaires before I'm through with this. Now, this coaching program is a bargain at $6,000. There's nothing like it anywhere near the price, anywhere in the real estate. I see a lot of people out there with coaching programs and mentoring things, but honestly, I hate to toot my own horn, but there's nobody else here with a mic on, so I have to toot it for a minute. None of those people have done 2,000 deals. None of those people have done, personally, 1,000 fix and flip properties. I'm coming to you as someone who knows what he's doing, who has been doing this a while, and thinks broadly and aggressively about how to get things done. And so I come to you with the depth of knowledge that very few other people have. And I also am morally opposed to the programs that charge $30,000 or $50,000. Not because it's $30,000 or $50,000, it's because they don't really give you the value that you need. I believe I will give you $30,000 or $50,000 worth of coaching value, and we'd be worth every penny of that. But I'm doing it for $6,000. Okay, and not only am I doing it for $6,000, if you sign up before the end of the year, I didn't mean to go backwards. Use the code Purple Mountains. If you sign up and pay before the end of the year, you get it for half price. So for $3,000, you get a $50,000 coaching program. You're going to get access. It's not just about fixing and flipping. It's about income producing properties. It's about wealth management strategies. It's some of it's about not repeating the mistakes that I made. I made a fortune and lost it. And I'm going to keep you from doing that. And I'm going to also help you with your deal analysis, help you with your strategy, help you to really run the numbers. I'm going to give you the forms that I use in my business, the contracts that I use in my business, and I'm going to introduce you to the connections that I have around the country as we go along through this. You'll get your $6,000 worth out of it. In fact, my guarantee is if you don't get $12,000 worth of value out of it, double your investment, you stay in the program until you do. All right? You get to determine when it's over. Okay. I said I would say more about the Buyers Club. The Buyers Club is an amazing opportunity. You don't have to be in any mentoring program. It is a done-for-you club that basically allows you to invest in cash flow. The response has been tremendous. It's actually kind of taken over my life, and I'm okay with that because we plan for it to go big, and it's on its way. We're on track to get our 200 members. We're limiting it to 200 members nationwide. And I think that we'll probably have them in the first quarter. We're trying to grow at about 10 members a week, and that's been happening. We took a little time off in October for some other things that we wanted to focus on, but we'll be back to doing live webinars again for the first half of November and the first half of December and building our membership in the club. Here's what it is, basically. We buy houses like this one across the country at staggeringly low prices, almost always under $20,000. And we teach you how to sell or finance them as is, where is in the community. Now, this one is one, if you're on the call and you're in the Buyers Club, you haven't seen this yet because I just got it this afternoon. Okay. And I rushed to get some analysis done and put this in here. Our Buyers Club, this is a 2,900 square foot house in Illinois that you can buy for $9,500 through the club. And the fair market rent in the community is $950 a month for a house this size. We're suggesting that you sell it for $2,000 down and $550 a month. Now, I'll put some pictures here to show you. This house is in rough condition. It's a little rougher than a lot of the ones that we buy, But we also got a almost 3,000 square foot house for, well, less than $10,000. I mean, that's not the down payment, that's the house. You get the whole thing. You can see here from the picture, it needs a front porch put on. That's what's happened. The little cover over the roof has ripped off or disappeared or something. And so that needs to be done. And this house does need some work. But somebody will take this house as is. I didn't mean to do that. As is, and we'll be glad to pay you $550 a month. If they went down the road and tried to rent a similar house, they're going to pay $950 a month for it. It's in a small town in Illinois, and the house is probably only worth about 70 or 80,000 when it's all fixed up. But if you spent 30,000 on this, you could double your money if you just wanted to flip it. But that's not what we teach you to do in the club. What we teach you to do is sell it to someone local. And if you sell it to someone local and they take it on, you finance it to them for 8 years at $550 a month, well below the rent price. Your average annual return on cash is 68%. I don't know how you can beat that. Now, that's actually a better return than most of the properties that we get. But if you're in the club, we show you what to do. We find the properties for you. We make them available to you, and we step you through the entire process. And if you want to watch a video on it, we're going to start the webinars back in a couple weeks, but you can go to this link right here. Just take a screenshot or write that down real quick. You don't have to write down the HTTPS. You don't have to know all that. Just go bit.ly/Buyers Club 920. And that will take one of the webinars that I did in September 9 of 2020. That's where that number comes from. Okay. You need to watch the video and understand the risks in this type of investing because there are some. And that house right there is the 71st that I've put under contract in this program. So that lets you know we've been doing this for a minute. Okay, now it's time to thank our sponsors. Let me go back to the main camera here, and I'm going to switch it over to, I'm actually going to go over here to the Zoom for a minute. And Chip, I have unmuted you, and I want to say thanks to you and thanks to Bay Mountain Capital, and we appreciate you. Tell us a little bit about Bay Mountain Capital. Hey, man. Are you there? Oh, 100%. That's pretty good. Chip, I almost never interrupt you when you're doing this, but I just want to say this, and I haven't said this before, but guys, I'm sitting here thinking when I got into this business, what I paid for money, even as an experienced investor, wasn't a deal as good as what he's offering newbies. It's unbelievable to me as I sit here and listen to this. I'm staggered by, first of all, the low interest rate. I know you think 8, 9%, man, loans are 3%. Well, not in the investing business. I paid 5 points and 15% before. And I've actually paid more than 15%. I've paid as high as 20%. And I didn't mind it because of what I was making. But listen to this, man. Listen to what they have to offer. Because if you've got to finance an investment property, you need to talk to Chip. I'm sorry, Chip. I interrupted. Go ahead. And Yeah, and they're not going to loan on a property that needs a bunch of work anyway. Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh, I see that now. But I'm looking over here at the list of people. It looks like most of the people that are on the call tonight have already won the course because a lot of them were here yesterday. So, so okay. Hey, let me conduct a little informal survey. I wish I'd thought of doing this as a poll. Let me just ask those of you that are here. I'm actually working on 4 or 5 other courses right now, kind of simultaneous, and also kind of trying to manage everything else that we have going on. Um, Here are some courses that I'm working on. And I would like for you to, if one of these grabs your attention and is something that you would be interested in, just put it into the chat. Okay. So, first course I'm working on is called the contractor course: how to find, how to manage, how to run contractors to get your project done. And this is one that a lot of people have asked for. So I know that one will be popular. I've also started developing a course called the Confidence Course: how to have more self confidence. There are things that you can do to condition your brain to make you more confident in life and in business. And it's not a long course, it wouldn't be a very expensive course, but it can be very helpful. Similar to that, I've been asked to do a course on how to build a personal network. I don't really know why or how, but I seem to be good at building a network. With tens of thousands of contacts in my personal database and dozens of high level people like our guest tonight, Mark Dolfini, all over the country, who are willing to take a moment and talk to me about what's going on in their life. It's a blessing and a privilege, but the skills involved in building a network are skills that I developed once I realized I needed one. And so I've got some information about that. And then I was doing a thing one day about a presentation at one of these RIA meetings about building a network. And uh, somebody asked me if I would do a course on how to talk to strangers, which that doesn't seem to be related to real estate. But I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll put that on the planning, on the drawing board as well. Then I've got another mini course on real estate terminology. What do all of the letters mean? What does the jargon mean? What are the different types of deeds? What are the types of conveyance of deeds? What's the difference between a deed and a title, and all of those different things? And so I've actually shot the video already and done a little course on that as well. And then I've got another course. I'm not sure what we're going to call it, but it's a course about the numbers, how to analyze the numbers on a flip deal or on a rental. If any of those grab your fancy, just put them in the chat, and I'll eventually see them. I'm not looking at the chat right now, but I'll eventually take a look at what you have to say if any of those courses interest you, or if I didn't mention a topic that you would like to have a few lessons on, put that in there too. And you never can tell. Maybe we can do it. All right. On to the main event. Let me get over here. There we go. Mark Dolfini is here. Hi, Mark. You've been sitting
How's
there
it
waiting
going?
patiently. Yeah, man, it's going well. As you can tell, it's kind of busy. Things are kind of happening around here. And I put a couple. Let's see. I closed on the purchase of 2 properties today. One tomorrow. Another one Monday. I sold 2 properties today. I'm finishing up a rehab in Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll finish up this weekend. It will be listed by Tuesday, and we're closing on the purchase of another rehab over in Alabama on Tuesday. So I'd say things are going pretty well.
More importantly, you do you realize that I just closed a flip about an hour north of Louisville? I
Really?
just finished it. Yeah.
Oh, is
So
that the one you were working on with your boys?
Yeah, yeah. So we got that done, got it sold. The lady is happier than a pig in a puddle, and it was great getting it done. Worked with my bride and my boys, and got that all done. So when you're in Louisville, I don't need much of an excuse to go to Louisville.
Okay. Well, it's only a couple of hours away. So that's November the
Yeah,
12th. If you want to come down that
yep.
night, we'll have fun. All
I
right.
I am I'm going to pencil that in, and I will. Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a great time.
Yes, and I want you to meet the Louisville organizers anyway, because they're the ones that want to start flipping Indianapolis, and I've told them about you already. All right, everybody. Hey, this is Mark Dolfini. I didn't really introduce him. Some of you may not know him. Mark is the landlord coach. He's the author of the Time Wealthy Investor, and also at my request. Um, oh, I see. Yeah, Chesley. Okay, real estate terminology and the deal analyzer. Oh, yeah, I've got some news coming up about the flip calcs. But I'm going to save that for later. Anyway, Mark has done all of these things. I asked him to put together, he's got, I think, the best stuff on vision of anyone that I've seen and the clarity that he brings to this topic. And so I asked him to do it, and he did. He's got a course called the Vision Course. You still have that course, still selling it, right?
Yep, I do. Yep.
All right.
And actually, it's wrapped into my. I've only broken it out. So you got to understand, I've only broken it out for you. I've not done that for anybody else, for
Uh,
you and your listeners. But because usually it's just part of my overall course, but I broke it out specifically for you guys. So
yeah.
it's truly something special.
It's really terrific stuff, guys. I'm telling you, when Mark looks you in the eye and wants you to describe the vision and helps define for you what it is, I mean, you're going to get specific, and it's very helpful. So all of these things are resources that you need to look into when you're talking to Mark. But the reason I brought him on the show tonight is to talk to us. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yep. I've got Mark turned all the way up here. Mark, say something into your microphone.
Hello, hello, hello.
I've got you turned up. Was that better?
Can you hear me? I see my mic. You having trouble hearing me?
All right. Maybe I'll turn mine down. So that way, how's that? Okay. Mark, talk at the same time as me. So let's get it.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello.
Am I still louder? A lot louder? Where'd you go, Chip?
Can you hear me? I'm seeing my little indicator bar.
Go ahead. All right. Chesley hears you loud and clear on Facebook. Maybe it's a Zoom issue. Let me
Huh.
turn my mic down a little bit more. Okay. Go ahead, Mark. Talk a little bit.
All
Let Chip
right.
hear you.
All right. I'll try to broadcast my voice, so even maybe if you're in the same state, you can still hear me. How about that?
Worse. Man, I don't know how it got worse. I didn't turn anything down. Okay.
Huh. I don't know. So we're getting loud and clear on Facebook, but not on.
I need an audio engineer. All right. Let me open up the chat here. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what to do, Mark.
Well,
Can
I,
can
yeah.
you
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I hear you fine. Yeah. I mean, if I had trouble hearing you, I would have said so. And it's
Yeah.
always amusing to me whenever I'm attending one of these calls and they're struggling with technical difficulties. I like to think, oh man, we're better than that, but we're not really. When it comes right down to it, we don't know what the heck we're doing. I've got all these dials and buttons and switches and so forth, and I've done everything I know how to do. Let me see. Yeah,
Well,
I know I was. All right, let me turn off echo cancellation. Mark, tell me if this creates a problem for you. Talk a little bit and see if you hear yourself on your end.
hello, hello. I
Is it
can hear myself a little bit, but it's not terrible.
okay? Does that help any, Chip?
No, it does
All right. Have it turned off then.
Yeah, whoever
Yeah,
was talking before, I didn't hear a word of what they said.
that was Chip. You don't hear Chip?
Yeah, I didn't hear Chip at all when he was talking.
All right. Well, this is a problem I've got to look into. Can you hold your phone? No, your phone is providing your video for us, right? So I guess
Unfortunately, my laptop had to it's in for surgery right now.
yeah. Well, I guess just talk as loud as you can, and everybody, I'll try to shut up and let Mark talk, and I won't talk real loud, so maybe you won't have this equalization issue. All right. All right.
All right.
So, okay, we're here to tell scary stories. Mark, tell
Yeah.
us tell us a scary
It
story.
it was a dark and stormy night. It actually has nothing to do with the story, but it was a tenant that had lived in a property for a little while, um, and they left behind a bunch of stuff that was, not unusual for what you'd expect for a full trash out. I mean, this was a full trash out, and a trash out, for those of you who are not in the business, is basically when someone leaves behind and you've got to go and order a dumpster or two to get all their crap out of the house. Well, this family left behind an extensive gum collection. Now, let me say that once again: an extensive gum
Oh,
collection.
yeah, I thought you said gun.
That's yeah. And so, for those of you who don't know what ABC gum is, it's already been chewed. There was only one owner of this gum collection, and where they decided to keep it after they were done with their gum was to stick it inside the fridge where the butter dish was. And my very own bride, and we weren't married yet, we were dating though. She was working at the office and decided to go down and help with this trash out because it was so extensive. And she went in and she's reaching in, she's just grabbing and throwing stuff into this trash bag. And she goes and she doesn't realize what she's grabbing, and she grabs a hold of this gum wad, which is probably weighed about, I don't know, 3 pounds. And she goes to pull it out of the butter dish and realizing that it was still stuck hold. And then she realized what it was when she saw all the tooth marks on it. And she had to go outside and leave her lunch outside. So that was pretty hysterical. We laughed about that for a good few years.
Yeah, yeah. The nice ones are the ones that you can laugh about right afterwards. So, did that change any of your policies, or did you learn any lessons from it?
Well, that one was a particular property that I had no business getting into in the first place. It was an old property in one of the worst parts of town, and as a result, I was attracting a clientele that needed a very high degree of management. So, yeah, I not much longer after that, I got out of those properties altogether.
All right. Now, that's really an important thing that you just brought up because that's how I started too, buying older properties in rough sections of town where the numbers looked okay, but it was one continual problem. And most of the stories that I have to share came from those properties. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
here's a question. Have you ever had to hire an auto body metal worker to repair your house?
No, that's a new one.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
All right. um, I had an old house that had aluminum siding, which could not be replaced because they don't make it anymore. They haven't made it for a long
Okay.
time. We're talking 12-inch wide sheets of aluminum siding and it was like lap siding, but it was aluminum. Now, why would you need an auto body repairman to fix that? Because when the police came to arrest the gentleman for selling drugs, it was a rainy day, and this house set down the hill from the road, and They blocked off the driveway, so he decided to make a run for it by driving his car through the front yard. And he almost got to the top of the hill where he spun out and instead slid backwards all the way down the hill and all the way into the house with considerable force.
All
And
right.
it was cheaper for us to hire an auto body guy to come out and repair the aluminum siding than to re-side the entire house. Yeah, so that's my story number one. All right. And by the way, if you guys have a horror story you want to share, indicate to me. Let's see, reach out to me in the Q&A tab because that's something I'll definitely see. And then I'll unmute your mic and let you share your story. All right, Mark, next.
So one time I had a house that the same house actually caught on fire because this was later because somebody had plugged in about 42 different appliances into one um, multiple, like it was like multiple of multiple of multiple of multiple, junction box things. So they had about 5,000 volts going through this through this one outlet, and it caught fire inside the wall. But who knew that that was a bad idea? But anyway, prior to that, I had a family living in this house. This house wasn't very big. It was I think it was actually an old Sears house. So for those maybe young whippersnappers, yes, Sears actually used to sell houses in a box. Um, but and I still have this house, but I ended up completely rebuilding it because of this fire. But prior to that, there was a family that lived there, and unfortunately, I had to evict them. They were not paying, and I don't think that they were 100% all there. To be honest with you. But one of the little girls that lived there with them, she was, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 years old. Her room was absolutely rancid, and I couldn't figure out like what the smell was because the part of the problem is I had to go in there with a snow shovel to literally scoop up all the crap that they had left behind. It was it was a snow shovel job, what we've come to refer to it as.
Hmm.
So as we get back to the back of the house, this rancidity was just getting worse and worse and worse until and they left the bed there. So we got the bed and it was just getting really, really bad. Well, this little girl, what she was doing was she would go and she would smuggle hot dogs into her room, eat the hot dogs, and then stick the hot dog wrappers under her bed. So there was probably roughly, I don't know, 2 or 3 months worth of rancid hot dog wrappers under this bed. And all of that hot dog juice seeped into the floor. And that was a absolute nightmare getting rid of that smell. But yeah, that was I wish that was a dark and stormy night because I don't ever want to relive that one again.
I one time showed up at a house after the eviction process. Well, we threatened to evict, and I take it back. We didn't evict them. We'd gone through the court, gone to the process, and I showed up there preparing to evict, and they had moved out. And they had left a pit bull puppy chained on the back deck with no water, no food, and they'd been gone 2 or 3 days. And you know what's worse than finding an abandoned puppy in the backyard of a rental house? Finding the skeleton of a dog that died in the backyard. And that actually happened to me
Oh,
once too. I got over to the property and I noticed that the doghouse there was a chain, there was a doghouse, and there was a collar over there, but I didn't see what had happened. I went over there, and the collar was around the neck bones of the dog, and there was the skeleton of the dog, right there. And there's no real lesson to learn from that, except some people really, come on, what are they
they
doing?
just suck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
some people just suck.
All right.
Yep.
So, what's the worst thing someone's ever done to one of your houses?
Um, well, this is a story that I think is probably worth sharing. Because it's kind of ridiculous, but it's also you can see how it could happen. Um, this is the point in time where I started hiring. I wasn't doing it all myself. I had a maintenance guy, but that story reminded me of something. So this maintenance guy had good guy, but just not so much with the brains, not so bright. Good guy though, I could trust him. But he went into this house, and it was a huge, huge house, which it was like a 5 bedroom, but like one bedroom went into the next, to the next, to the next. So it was just this cavernous house, but it was infested with fleas. So I told him, I said, all right, go over there and bomb the house, and start from the top room and then come all the way out. Make sure that you're setting the bombs off as you leave. Okay. So he goes back over there the next day, and he goes to going walking through the house. All the fleas were basically knocked down at this point, and he goes back up to as he goes to the upstairs where he started. He calls me frantic because there's a dog in there that's dead that he clearly bombed the house, and he's feeling horrible about himself. He's like, I swear to God, I went in there and everything else. And sure enough, there's this big black, I mean, it was probably this big shaggy black dog upstairs laying in one of the bedrooms. Well, we call the police, or we call animal control to, see if there's anything we can do for this poor animal. He goes upstairs, and it is a stuffed dog. He couldn't see very well, and I was like, I can't even make this up. And the animal control was like, well, I'm not really sure a crime has been committed here, so we're just going to go ahead and go. But yeah, that was probably one of the more ridiculous episodes I ran into.
Yeah. Okay. That didn't really answer the question. The worst thing somebody's done to your house, but that is a story worth sharing. That's pretty good. Not all of my stories have anything to do with drug users and drug sellers, but some of them do. I got a call from a tenant one time that the all of the drains in the house were backing up, and if all of the drains are backing up, now they were not on sewer, they were on septic. If all of the
Yeah.
drains are backing up, then you've got a problem with the septic tank. So I called the septic tank, the poopy pumper guys, and they came out there, and they met me at the that we discovered was the septic tank for this house was one of those rare things where they made a septic tank out of plastic. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those. Um,
Yeah.
they don't do it anymore. And the poopy pumper truck was basically pulling the septic tank out of the ground because it wasn't
Oh.
heavy enough to withstand the kind of pressure. But then the guys called me over there and they said, and this led to a change in our policy and some very clear directions on our leases about what you should and should not flush. But um, he said we have pulled out about 100 dime bags, and I'm naive. I said, "What's a dime bag?" He said, "It's a bag. It's a plastic baggie that's got a bunch of marijuana in it that these people could go out and sell for $10, $1,500, whatever. I don't even know what the amount was.
Yeah.
That's not my culture or my thing." But he said there was about 100 of them, and between that and the Barbie toys that had been flushed down the toilet, that's what was jamming the whole system up. So I asked the tenant. I said, "What's with all these dime bags?" He said, "Well, somebody knocked on the door and we thought it was the police." But there was nothing in the lease that I could do to him about it, and so we ended up moving them on a little later on for some other reason. But things like that can cost you hundreds of dollars. All right, so
I do have a worse story if you'd like, if you're that
okay,
interested.
yeah, we want to hear it. This is scary story night.
All right, this is actually quite appropriate for a Halloween night of terror. So I used to allow my residents to paint as long with the understanding that they would paint back to the original color or to a neutral color. And this also caused a change of policy. So this couple, very nice couple, younger couple, they were a goth couple. And they decided they wanted a room for their goth lifestyle or whatever. So they painted the room black. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. You can paint the room black as long as you paint it back. Okay. They painted everything in that room black: the ceiling, the floor, the carpet, the walls, the doorknobs, the windows, the trim, everything. So when you walked in that room and shut the door, you were literally in space.
Man.
And that, I mean, to the point where the carpet was like crunchy to walk on because they had painted it. And they must have used, I don't even know if they used, I know they used spray paint in some of it. They must have used 300 cans of spray paint because there's no way you could have gotten all that paint. But it was impressive, if nothing else.
Wow. All right. So I have dozens of lesser stories, but we've been on the call for a few minutes here. A few
Yeah.
people are still saying that they can't hear you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what else to do, but I did put into the chat, I put the link to the Facebook where we are live, and Chesley says that she can hear loud and clear on Facebook. And so, again, I apologize about that. But um, I guess I have a couple of really terrible stories of flip projects. They're not related to tenants. But Mark, how many times have you walked into a house and asked yourself, you probably wouldn't say it out loud, but in your mind you thought, how can people live this way?
After a while, I stopped getting surprised. But it happened very, very often in the early days. But yeah, especially people with kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens a lot.
This isn't exactly tenant related and it's kind of gross, but I'm going to tell it anyway because those of you that are thinking about getting into this, you need to know you're going to run into some of this and you have to keep a straight face when you're talking to people. So I bought this house at the courthouse steps. I figured I think I got myself a pretty good deal today. And I got over to the house. I mean, when you're buying at the courthouse auction, you usually do not get inside the house ahead of time, especially if the people losing the house are still there. In fact, if you slow down, they're sensitive and you may get yelled at just for slowing down and taking pictures. But we live with that. Um, what you do not have to do under the law in Georgia is you do not have to go have a conversation with the people that just lost their house. But because of the kind of person that I am, it's something that I've always wanted to do to try to ease their passing with a Cash for Keys program. I was doing Cash for Keys before I knew it had a name. And so I bought this house and I went over and sat down with the people, knocked on the door, and people invited me to come in and talk to them. And as soon as I walked in the door, there was a pretty strong sewer smell. It was like someone had just done their business and man, they needed to light a match in there. Woo! But you can't say anything. You just kind of open up your eyes and you walk in and you're talking to people. And they knew that they'd been trying to figure out a way to save the house and they knew they were going to lose it. So they weren't real surprised that it had been sold. They were a little bit surprised that I was there to offer them money to move out and they were grateful. So they agreed to show me around the house. So I went around the center wall that divides things into the kitchen area, and the stove was sinking into the floor because the subfloor underneath it was rotting out. And the guy said, I'm not really sure what's causing that. It's just been sinking. And, we haven't been able to cook on it for a while because, it's not even level. And I looked at it, I said, yeah, there's a problem there. That's a bigger problem than I thought we had. And then we walked out the back door and the grass was as high as it can possibly get and brush and so forth. Long story short, there were 19 junk cars in the backyard. 19. This is in a subdivision neighborhood with a fenced in backyard and nothing had happened. And you couldn't tell. I could tell there was a car or two standing in the back door looking. But as we got in there and started pulling things out, there were 19 cars in the backyard. But that isn't the worst of it. After we got the house trashed out and we're trying to track down the subfloor problem in the kitchen, my contractor called me up one day and said, man, you're just going to have to come over here. I don't even think I want to try to describe this for you. So I was just a few minutes away. I came over there And he said we were looking at the problem and trying to figure things out here, but there's just an awful lot of moisture in this crawl space, way too much, and it's not coming up from the ground. It's not there's not a leak anywhere. The roof is tight and good. He said what we have figured out is the main sewer line from the house to the septic tank plugged up some time ago. I would say probably a year ago. And the man of the house decided to fix it by doing this. He came under the house, found the main sewer line, and cut it. And so they've been dropping their all of the everything that goes down the drain in their house and down the toilet into the crawl space for about a year. And that moisture, of course, is what causes subfloor to rot. And it turned out to be instead of making 50 or 60,000 on the house like I thought, we made 10. And I was lucky to make 10 because we had to replace all the subfloors in the house. We had to do all kinds of nasty remediation with that crawl space. That was the worst one I've ever bought. The second worst one I've ever bought was a hoarder house down in Warm Springs, Georgia. And a couple of years ago, I did a Halloween slideshow on that one because it was pretty terrible. But that house had garbage, not just stuff she was collecting, collectible stuff like that. It was garbage. And in the back bedroom, it was 7 feet high, taller than me. And the back bedroom was mostly old water bottles and Mountain Dew bottles. At least she had good taste, drinking Mountain Dew. But 7 feet high. And it took us 4 40-yard dumpsters to trash out that house. Yeah. And when we got finished, I walked into that back bedroom where the garbage was 7 feet high. It was at least 4 feet high throughout the house. There was no path anywhere through it. And I've got pictures of this. I used to have them up, but they were so gross I took them down. And also, somebody's going to buy that house, and I didn't want them to see all of the stuff there. And when I walked into that bedroom, the floor was real springy. And I was making a joke with the trash out crew. I said, "Be careful, boys. I think when you pull this carpet up, the floor's coming with it." Well, guess what? When they pulled the carpet up, the floor fell into the crawl space below. And so I have pictures of this bedroom with no floor in it. And one day, a couple of days before this, they had called me and said, "Hey, boss, guess what? We found another bathroom we didn't even know this house had because you couldn't get to it when we first bought the house." But that bedroom where the floor collapsed, it had a bathroom in it. And I'm telling you, if you saw the picture of that, you would think this has to be a doctored photo because it looks like someone opened up a baby's poopy diaper and used that to smear all over the walls and the cabinets and everything in the bathroom. The whole bathroom was covered with this brown something. And now the after photos were quite impressive because it turned out, it was a 4,000 square foot house down in Warm Springs, Georgia. Turned out to be a nice project. Unfortunately, we didn't make any money with it. And so it's a nice story to tell, but not one that's not a deal I would do again. All right. You got another one for us? Mark, are you there? You got another one for us?
Yeah. Yeah. So one just like that reminds me of I had one where the tenants at some point, the residents just decided that they were very, very busy people. They worked a lot, but they were so busy that as far as they could go was taking the trash to the garage. Now, this was a 1,500 square foot house, and it was probably a house that had only been built about maybe, it's only about 10 years old at the time.
Yeah. I
But
know
they
where
were
you're going.
so
I've
busy.
had that.
Yeah. They were so busy. And I'm a jerk for not understanding how this happened. But what basically happened is the rest of the house was actually quite well kept. They got to this 2-car garage attached and threw the trash bag to where it up against the door of the garage door, the overhead garage door, and that's where it sat with about I don't remember the exact count, but I'm going to say it was probably about 300 and plus trash bags that were full, that they just decided that they could not somehow take it that extra 11 feet from the edge of their garage door to the alley where the actual trash pickup was.
Yeah. They had them an indoor compost pile. That's what that was. All right.
That was terrible because we couldn't believe it. I walked in there. I was like,
Yeah.
is that their clothes? Like, what is that? And then you got the smell immediately afterwards and realized
Yeah.
that's
Rotting garbage
garbage.
is a distinctive odor. Um,
Yeah.
from someone who has worked in a landfill before. Um, so I had a similar situation where the garage was filled with. You saw me raise my hand. The garage was filled with the bags of garbage, and we started taking it out. And underneath all of the bags of garbage, and some of it wasn't rotty kitchen garbage. Some of it was just like newspapers and magazines and stuff like that that you throw out. And
Right.
but underneath all of it, I found a drum set. So I took it home, and that's why my son became a drummer. He doesn't really know the details of where I got that his first drum set. Now, after he really applied himself and became a real drummer, I bought him a real drum set. But yeah, it was a regular, I don't know how many pieces, 7-piece kit or something like that. It had all the basics for him to learn anyway. Um, yeah, so um, it's not particularly scary, but have you found any treasures left behind when people leave? You know, things that are worth having?
What one thing I don't know that it would be worth having. Well, one time I walked into a house, which again was full, and as I'm walking up to the door had about, I don't know, half a dozen "Sorry we missed you" door hangers, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, "Sorry we missed you," and it was from one of these rent-a-center places,
Oh,
and right,
trying to come out and get their
so.
furniture.
So I didn't realize. I was like, that's odd. And then because I didn't know, like I couldn't get in contact with them, so I was just going in the place to check on it. Well, I went in, and this place was completely full. I mean, it was completely full. But everything that they had wanted, you could tell, like the bed was gone and everything else was gone. But there was this gigantic, and this was at the first, like this was back when flat screen televisions were just kind of new. This thing it took up almost the entire living room. This thing was about 4 feet tall. I mean, this thing was gigantic and like probably 6 feet wide. The thing was massive. And I'm like, how in the world did they even get this thing in here? And it was on this big giant stand, and they had, surround sound speakers and the whole thing. And I have to tell you, probably one of the most extensive porn collections I've seen. I mean, it was impressive. I didn't really want to touch anything in the house, but it was impressive nonetheless.
Yeah.
So I called the Rent-A-Center company and I said, "Hey, I'm at this property. I think I have something that you want." And the manager goes, "And you're calling me?" Because he fully expected someone to like. I'm like, no offense, dude. I don't really want to touch anything in this house.
All right.
So he was there with an assistant manager within like 3 minutes in one of those big trucks and hauled it out of there for me. But he left the surround sound speakers, and I was like, "Does that come with it?" He's like, "I don't know. You can have it. I don't care. We're getting the TV back. That's good enough for us." So I got a I
Okay.
got a surround sound speaker system out of it, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and when we come back, we'll talk about um, tenants who live a higher lifestyle than we do.
Yeah.
That's a couple of scary stories coming up. But Chip has got a story for us from someone on his mailing list. Chip, go ahead and jump in there. I've unmuted you, I think. Mm. Yeah. 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 There's Section 8, and that is to prevent situations like this from happening over and over again. In part designed to help the people do better, and also protect the landlords a little bit from abusive tenants, because there are some stories out there. Yeah, boy. I found the live dog at a Section 8 house. Um, but that's all I'm going to say about that right now. Anyway, thank you, Chip. Do what? Oh, the dead cats is in a house I bought in Michigan. That's a sad story. That's not really a scary story. It's a sad story. Um, and that wasn't a tenant either. It was a house I bought as an investment. But yeah. All right. So Mark, and if you guys want to hear the dead cat story, you've got to come on to one of the Buyers Club webinars, and maybe I'll tell the story there. But I like cats, and I hate to think of them dying. I like dogs too. I like people too. And the dead cat story also involves a dead lady. And so that's not really fun. It's really tragic. Anyway, um, Mark, let's talk for just a minute about people, tenants who live a higher lifestyle than we do. And in some of my cases, I hate to say this, but I'm just going to say it. They were Section 8 tenants. They were living there rent free, and they had more stuff,
Yeah,
better stuff than I do.
yeah. I remember one time going to a property, and I had no luck getting in contact with him for about 2 weeks, and finally I just happened to be in the area, so I stopped by, banged on the door. He comes to the door, and he's got his shirt off, and I was like, "Hey man, what's going on? I've been trying to get in contact with you." I said, "Can I come in?" He's like, "Yeah, come on in." And he turned around, and his whole back, he had um, like saran wrap over it, over like this double eagle, like, I mean, very, very, very ornate level of tattooing that had been done on his back. I don't know what that cost, but it had to be. I mean, it had to be at least $300-400 worth of work, because it was impressive. But I was sitting there thinking about it like, wow, that's a great tattoo. When did you get that done? Oh yeah, I just got it done, a couple days ago, and it's still. I was like, man, that must have hurt, this and that. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I'm trying to see if he's going to actually admit to how much he actually paid for this thing. But it's. I'm sure he would have said, "Oh, it was a friend who owed him a favor and this and that thing." And I'm thinking, no, that's you've got like you've got probably $1,000 worth of work like done just on your arm. And I was pretty impressed with that. But that was one that was just kind of more like a thumb in my eye than anything else. But
Yeah.
of course, that was one of them.
I got a call one time from, well, it was the same house that ultimately, when they left the dog behind on the deck. That same Section 8 house. Um, One of the exterior doors was sticking, hinge was sagging or something, and needed me to fix it. Now, this year, it was the year probably 2004, 2005. And so I hopped into my little 1993 F-150, my little red pickup, and put my tools in it because I can fix a sagging door myself. And I drove over to this house in a not so great area in Clayton County, right here in the Atlanta area. Some of you all will know it was in Riverdale. In fact, if you really want to know, it was in Winchester Estates. And I pulled into the driveway, and sitting in the driveway was a relatively new Infiniti Q45. You know what that car is? That is a
Oh yeah,
nice car. I couldn't
that
afford
is.
that car. What's that car doing in the driveway? It's nicer than anything I own by a long shot. And so I went up and I knocked on the door, and I'm going to fix the door. And of course, she knew who I was and everything. I said, "Whose Infinity is that in the driveway?" She said, "Oh, that's my boyfriend's." Turns out, long story short, the boyfriend lived there with her, and they'd been together for some time, and she was the mother of his children. But they couldn't get married because if they got married, she'd lose her Section 8.
That's right.
So do I make a rule that they can't live together there? Wow, that really caused me a little bit of conflict because I drove away from there thinking to myself, man, I'd really like for somebody to pay my mortgage so I could drive an Infinity. That's the thought that was in my mind. All right. My other Section 8 story is this was about that same time period. And I've always liked technology and gadgets and that sort of stuff. That's why I play around with this Ecamm software, trying to do all this stuff. I like that kind of stuff. So I had state of the art 32-inch tube TVs. That's as big of a tube TV as you could get. And there was no such thing as high definition TV in this time. Well, I think maybe it had been invented, but it was still, the price was way out there. And they had invented
Right.
flat screen TVs, but still, no way I could afford them. And I had a Section 8 house in Hampton, Georgia, and the lady called me and asked for permission to put a mounting bracket on the wall in the living room to hold her plasma TV. Same thoughts. I wish somebody would pay my rent or my mortgage so I could have a plasma TV. And anyway, so where I want to end up with this, though, Mark, is on the positive. For some reason, you and I both continue to buy income producing properties, even with
Mhm.
all of these stories. And I know we've just scratched the surface of the stories that we could tell. And every landlord out there has stories like this. But why do you continue to buy rental properties?
I mean, for me, I think it was just about making sure I identified the right type of clientele that I wanted to service, and then I started buying the properties that matched up to that clientele. And once I figured it, once I backed into it that way, it wasn't and just so I'm clear, it's not a race thing. It's not it's a quality of individual thing. Like it really, or it's not anything other than that. And I know sometimes it's like, well, that's illegal. It's like, no, it's not illegal to pick your market. It's illegal to discriminate based on the things that race or age or, whatever, all that stuff. Like I literally don't care. I just want to attract a type of clientele that has the ability of paying the rents that I want to charge, which, if I'm charging $1,500 a month in rent, which is pretty good rent in my area, that they have the ability to pay that. And I think once you approach it, just because something is for sale doesn't mean you have to buy it. And it's very easy to get wrapped up into the percentages and the numbers on low end properties, but you don't buy bread with percentages. And a
Right.
lot of times you get wrapped up in the metrics, and they're not necessarily realistic.
Yeah. There's more to consider than whether or not it's a 1%er or a 2% or anything like that, for sure.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, the why goes back for a lot of people. The reason they want to buy rental properties and income properties is for the income.
Right.
So let me just elaborate on that just a little bit. Flipping houses is great. I'm all for it. I've done it 1,000 times. But flipping houses will stop producing income as soon as the property is sold. And as soon as you stop working it, then that's the end of it. Owning income producing properties like rental properties is going to provide income for you from now, as long as you hold the property. So it could be a long time. And that income is relatively passive compared to the amount of effort you have to put into a flip. And the income is going to be there to perhaps provide generational wealth for your family, because it's you learn after a while it's more than just the income. It's also the tax benefits of owning rental properties. Our tax code is, I think it was written by real estate investors because it's very favorable to people who own rental properties. What you're able to do to depreciate an appreciating asset. And then you have the other thing that's happening. Your wealth is growing every time your tenant makes your covers your monthly payment, because you're paying down a little bit on the principal and you're building your equity, and the value of the property is growing if you bought it right. And so all of these things are reasons for doing it. And here's the thing that I think Mark was saying, and I would want to say to you also: get out there and do this, and then get better at it. Both of us bought properties we probably would, no doubt, we would not buy them again in areas or certain types of assets or certain types of curb appeal. Those are things that we would not do again. And part of what we both teach when people listen to us is we teach some of those things that we learned the hard way about what not to buy, and about how to take a real look at the numbers and the metrics, and more than just the percent return, but think about the neighborhoods you're buying in and the type of people who want to live in those neighborhoods. And when all is said and done and the smoke clears, bad things are still going to happen, because bad things happen to people. And let's face it, some people are bad. They just choose to be that way. They are abusive to the property of other people, and they're going to be abusive to your houses. It's going to happen. However, the benefits of owning income properties far outweighs the problems and challenges. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah. So we're going to continue to do it, right, Mark?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the word. I wanted to have a little fun tonight telling you some frightening stories about tenants, but I also want you to relax. Most of the properties that I buy these days are trouble free. And I think Mark will say the same thing. We learn how to mitigate the troubles by our policies and our procedures and the inventory that we buy and the way that we select our tenants. We follow all of the laws, of course,
Yep.
and we
I would
discriminate
say
against.
exactly right. But
Go ahead.
sorry, you cut out there a second. But yeah, absolutely. By the policies, the systems that you put in place to run it like a business. And when you remove the emotional, and I will tell you, better than 90% of the time when I got into trouble, it's because I was making a business decision with my emotions. I knew, and how many times, and Roger, how many times have you said it? I knew I shouldn't have rented to these people,
Yeah.
but they had kids, they pulled on your heartstrings, they gave you a very compelling story,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it was,
About
you
how much
know.
they love Jesus. What good people they were.
I just wish they loved a little bit more Windex. I'm glad they love Jesus, but loving Windex wouldn't have hurt my heart either, something, you know.
All right. Mark, I was going to turn to you for a parting shot. That was a pretty good one. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I honestly, I can't think of another way. I often kid that, if this business became illegal, I would have to become a criminal because I really don't know much else. But I do enjoy it. I don't want to scare anybody off. I mean, because there's horror stories in anything. In any business, you can
Right.
hear horror stories. But it's about going about it systematically, going about it and going about it too with the right people in your corner. Roger, you've been in this a really long time. I've through this. Been in business now for 21 years. So I've been through good times and bad times where I really start to, get a little critical as somebody who's been in this business, the last 4, 5, 6 years and has never known what it's like to have any real trouble. It's like that guy that says, "Dude, I got your back." That's never been in a fight ever. Right? And that really worries me. I'm like, dude, I don't need you to get my back. I need you to get the car because you've never been in a fight. So it's one of those things where I just say, make sure you get a good mentor, get somebody that's going to be in your corner that's been through and crawled through the swamp and knows what that looks like, because tough times do come, and that's when you need to be prepared for.
Very good. And folks, you're listening to Mark Dolfini. Mark, tell us how to get in touch with you. I'm going to type it into the chat for the Zoom call.
Sure, best way, you can find me on Facebook. That's easy enough, or at facebook.com/ my landlord coach. That's the landlord coach page. I've got a YouTube channel as well that about 6 people watch, so you won't be crowded out by that for sure. But if you want to check me out at landlordcoach.com, you can get a bunch of information on there that might be relevant to you.
Oh, and I just realized that I'm typing all of this to the panelists only, and everything that I've been putting stuff in the chat this entire time, and it's only been going to the panelists. So Tony Sapp, I see you out there in the group, and I've been talking to you, but I wasn't sending it because there's too many screens and buttons and everything to push here. So
We need to get you a producer. This is what we need. Like,
yeah,
I think that's the next hire.
yeah, I actually have one, but because of the pandemic, he can't really be in here in the studio with me right now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but yeah, I do have one who's actually produced a Hollywood movie, and he will be joining us hopefully after the first of the year, and he'll be operating all the buttons and knobs and controls and the dials and the switches and all that stuff. And last thing I want to say is, everybody, I've been wearing my little sticker tonight that says I voted, and if you haven't voted yet, in Georgia, you still have a couple of days for early voting. Go out and make your voice count. All right, and vote. I don't care who you vote for. Just do your duty and vote. Get out there now or get out there Tuesday, but make sure that you vote and be a proud American. You can't complain about the outcome if you don't give your input into the election process. All right, that's it for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for. Oh, Chip, we got to turn it over to you. Do we have anybody guess? Okay. Nope. But that's okay. Oh, and this person also asked a question: what happens if they don't pay their mortgage? Well, we're the landlords. We pay the mortgage. If they don't pay the rent, right, there's not a whole lot we can do to them in 2020 if they don't pay the rent. But we have some people that we're going to move on down the road as soon as the laws will allow us to. All right. Well, we'll figure that out later on, and it's great to see everybody. I'm sorry about the technical issues. I'm going to research what's going on, the connection between Ecamm and Zoom, to see if there is a problem that's known or if there's something that I'm doing wrong. And I'll try to have that solved before we get back here next Wednesday. So thanks everybody for joining us. We will be back next Wednesday at noon Eastern time, talking with Chris Prefontaine, and then next Thursday night with the gentleman from Priced, Prycd. And that's good. Put some sevens in the chat to appreciate Mark and thank him for taking his time to be here. I know he can't see it because he's not actually on the Zoom call, but that'll show your appreciation, and we do appreciate you, Mark. Thanks again, my man, and we'll talk again very soon. All right.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night. Take good care.
All right. We'll see y'all.